What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be creating a notes application using Node. Let's get to it. What's going on, guys? As I've mentioned, we're going to be creating a notes application, and here's a quick demo of what we're going to be building together. Let me just get this started up. Yeah, I had that right. App.js. If you list, we're going to be able to list all your notes. As you can see, we're printing 3 notes and I have 3 notes right here. Right? We're also going to be able to remove a note. Remove with the title. Let's remove this note right here. So the title is Notes by WDJ. So Notes by WDJ. As you can see, command was removed and note was removed. So if we list the whole notes again, there's only 2 now, right? So we listed, we removed. We're going to be able to add a note. Let's get that. Let's give it the title of new note, and we're going to give it the body of body of this is a new note. And there you go. Add note created, and it gives us back the note that we just made. And we list one more time, we will be able to see 3 notes, and here are the notes and the new one we've just created. Also, if you want to read a note, yes, we're going to be able to read a note as well. So read with give it the title. And we're going to read Christmas shopping and note found, and here it gives us a title and body. So this is a simple notes application that we're going to be building with Node, and during this we're going to be using ES6 syntax. So if you don't know what ES6 is, it's just a new standard for JavaScript, and don't worry if you don't know it, because I'll be explaining everything once I've done it. But let's get right to it. So first things first, I'm gonna minimize that. First things first, if you do not have nodejs installed onto your computer, you should do that because we need it. So just go to nodejs.org and download the 10.14 one. This one has features that aren't fully developed yet, but you can use them, but they're a bit buggy. So I don't really recommend, if you're new to Node, don't recommend using this. Just use the recommended for most users. Just do this one. Also, if you do not have a text editor, you should probably download one as well, because we're going to be using it. Although you could use a text, the notepad. I mean, you could use that, but it's much easier if you just get a text editor. Here's a few that I've listed. Visual Studio Code. These are all free, by the way. Atom, Sublime Text, and Brackets. I'm going to be using Atom personally. It doesn't really matter which one you use, because you could always customize a text editor for your own, to do whatever you want it to do. Every text editor is customizable, so just choose one and then just customize it for whatever you're going to be doing. Alright, once you have those 2 installed, we're going to create a folder. I already created one, and nothing's inside of it, but create a folder called, name it whatever you want. I called my Notes app, and make sure you do not have a space in there, because we're going to be using the terminal or command prompt. We're going to be using that, and if you ever use the command prompt and terminal, spaces are a hassle to get around, so do not use spaces. So once you have that folder, and once you have Node and a text editor installed, open up your text editor, which I have. Don't worry, you're going to see some errors. Do not worry about that. You're not going to have it if you just installed Atom. And you can see right here that you're going to do File, Open Folder. I already have it right here, but File, Open Folder, and find the folder you created. Find it and open it. You want to open the whole folder, not just a file. Mine was in Desktop. Notes app, there it is. Select folder, and it's right here already. You should see yours right here as well. For any text editor, you should see it right there. inside this nodes app folder, you're gonna right click, or you could do file, new file. Just do right click and new file, and we're gonna name ours app.js. And we're gonna simply just log out starting app.js. Now, if you didn't know how I did that so fast, it's because on Atom, I don't know about the other text editors, but in Atom, you can literally just type in log and enter, and it'll give you console.log. So yeah, once you have this, save it and open up your command prompt. So I'm gonna have this on the side so that way we could just do this real quick. Okay. Open up your command prompt, and we're gonna navigate where you have the notes app folder, the folder you just created. We're gonna navigate to it. So mine's in the desktop. I don't know where you put it at, but you want to navigate where you're at. And I just did that. It's right here. I'm inside Notes app folder. Okay. So how do you know that you have Node installed? Well, simply you could just type in node-b, which stands for version 11.2. I have mine as 11.2. This might be different for everybody, so do not worry. Just know that if you show a number here, you actually have Node installed into your computer. Now, if you have an error, maybe you do not, for Windows at least, you probably don't have it in your global path variable. So you might want to do that on your global path. Yeah, another way you could do that is just dash version, and it'll do the same thing. So anyways, so now we know that we have Node on our computer. We want to run this application. We want starting app to appear here because this is our system's command prompt, right? It's our terminal for the system. So how do you do that? Well, you're going to type in node, because node is our executable. It's going to execute the file that we want it to execute. So we want node to execute, well, literally app.js. So you're going to do node app.js, because this is a file we want node to run. So once you hit enter, you see that starting app.js. If you see this, you have successfully created a Node application. It's that simple. It's that easy. Now, I'm not going to go into what is Node, because there's tons of videos about that. No, this channel is basically going to just be over like creating applications or projects using technologies. So with that said, I'm going to give you a very brief summary of what Node is. It's literally JavaScript outside of the browser. So, in JavaScript, you could use it for manipulating the DOM in the browser, in the window that you're currently in. So changing elements, making elements do something, changing class, anything like that. You could do all that stuff. Well, you could do that outside of the computer. You could do that outside of the browser, meaning that now you could manipulate the system itself. You can manipulate the files, create folders. You can do all these sorts of things now. So that's a brief summary. Like I said, I'm not going to go deep into it. But first things first, we're going to talk about require. We're going to talk about require. It is a keyword Node has. And require lets us grab other people's modules, or its Node's internal modules or third-party modules, and lets us use those modules in our application. So as you know, Java has import, util, whatever. C++ and C also has import. This is how you import external files, or internal or third-party files, or files or folders or modules, however you want to call it. This is how it lets us use those in our application. So for Node, to see what Node has for their applications or for their modules, we're going to just go to Google and type in Node API, which I have already. It's going to be this first one. And right here, all of this is Node's internal modules that you could use without even having to download or creating your own modules, right? So we're going to be using one, just a quick, a quick way of getting started. We're going to be using file system. Now, file system, once you click in it, these are all the function that this module has that we could use. It has, it has create, restream, copy files, close, chmod, append file, which this is one we're going to be using. And by the way, if you click on it, it'll tell you how to use it. So don't get worried about that. It does tell you how to use it. It has a great documentation. Node has a great documentation for its modules. Also, if you scroll down to the very first one, it tells you how to use it, which is right here. So we're going to be using this one, which is an internal module that Node itself has. So how do we use it? Well, we're going to make a variable const, and you can name this variable whatever you want, but good practice for this particular module is fs. So I'm going to create a variable called fs, and I'm going to equal that to require, because we're going to require a module, and require is a function that takes in a parameter, and it's going to be a string parameter, and whatever goes in here is literally the name of the module itself. Well, if you go back to node.js, it tells us that the name of the file system module is fs. So we're going to literally type in fs here, fs. So now this variable fs has all the functions, all of these functions you see right here, all of these functions, it has it in stored in fs. How do we use one? Like I said, we're going to be using append file sync. So hold on, let's just do it first. So fs dot append file sync. And this takes in two parameters. The first one is, let's see, path, meaning if you have a file that you want to append something to, or if you don't have a file, it'll actually create one. Well, we're going to just create one because I don't have one, so we're going to create one inside of Node's app. We're going to call it greetings.text. No, text. And the second parameter is the data you're going to send in. So we want to send in a string, hello world, the classic, right? Control save. Now, if you run this, you're going to see, if you open your file in here, just click it, you're going to see that greetings.text is now inside that folder that we just created, right? If you click on that, you're going to see hello world. It's that simple to actually use require and use other people's modules or internal modules as well as other people's and your own, as you're going to see later on. But it's that simple, guys. Like, it's not hard. So now that we know how to require internal modules, how do we require our own module? Let's say you have your own functions you want to build and create so that way you can use it in app.js. Well, let's create a new file in here. We're going to call it notes.js. And we're going to just console log, right? Remember shortcut, type in log, and then I'm going to just say starting notes.js. Control save. So how do we require it in here? How can we use notes.js in here? Well, it's going to be the same expression as this on top, so we're going to just copy that. Oh, and by the way, how I did that was just go to the line that you want to copy. It doesn't matter where here, and you're going to do, for Windows, Control Shift and then D, right? And then for Mac, it's going to be Command Shift D. It'll automatically copy that. So this, again, the variable, we can name it whatever we want. I'm going to call my notes. And this is going to be different. It's still going to take in a string parameter, but it's going to be different. So with the internal, Node knows what you're talking about when you put something in it, right? Because it's its own module. Our own personal modules, Node doesn't know what you're talking about because it doesn't belong to Node, right? So we need to tell it where it lives. Well, it lives in this folder right here, right? So it lives in the current directory of app.js. So how do we do that? It's /. This literally says it's going to be inside the current directory of this file that we're in right now. So we're in app.js and it's in the current directory of app.js, which is notes app right here. And it's notes.js. So current directory, and it's called notes.js. Control save. Now, if we run, and by the way, we can run notes.js. You can literally just run notes.js, right? And you should see starting notes.js, but we don't want to run that. We want to run app.js that has notes.js inside of here, right? So we're going to just node app.js. We want to run app.js. And now you see starting app.js and starting node.js, which means you've successfully added notes, the notes file into app, okay? But we don't want to count the log stuff. We want to use functions. So how do you get functions in here to come over to app.js? Well, we could literally do a function add, right? It's going to take in an argument, 2 arguments, and we're going to return x plus y. And by the way, this is going to change now because remember we're going to be using ES6 and we're going to be using arrow functions. And how do you do arrow functions? Well, you're going to create a variable and name that add, and that's going to equal to parentheses, and inside of parentheses is going to be the arguments x, y, right? And then you can put equal, greater than, curly braces. That's it. And you're going to do the same thing, return x plus y. And this is literally the same thing as this up here. It's literally the same thing. Okay? So we're going to be using this standard ES6 arrow functions instead of the old ES5, okay? So I'm going to delete this and use this. And we could simplify this even more since we're just returning right here. We're not doing something, very hard, complicated. We could actually remove the curly. I'm gonna copy this. We're gonna remove the curly braces and just put return right there, like this. That's how simple it is. Okay. But how do we use this add function inside of app.js? We can't just notes.add, right? We can't just do that. 2 and 5 should give us 7, right? And since we're returning it, we're gonna have to console log this. .log. Okay, save. If you run it now, it's gonna give us an error, right? It's gonna say, well, it doesn't know what this is yet, right? But it's a function. But if we had it, look, let me just do it the other way I had it right now, and don't do anything just yet. I'm just comment this out. Do not delete anything or anything like that. Let me just run this one more time. All right, it gives us a notes.add is not a function. That's because we haven't told Node that this is a function that anybody could use that wants to use it. Right now, this function is only available to notes.js. It's not available to add app.js. Why is that? Since we've included in here, why is it that we cannot use it? Well, it's because we haven't told Node that you could export this. You could actually, this could be used in any app that has notes.js, the file notes. Okay, how do we tell Node that we want to use this function add? It's literally simple. Now there's 2 ways of doing it. I'm gonna show you the first way. It's literally module dot exports, right? And then the function name dot add equals, and you're gonna type in function And you're gonna literally do the same thing as you did up there. X, comma, Y, and then braces, return, X plus Y. So this now, if we just remove this, now if you actually run it, it should give you 7. As you can see right now, 7. Now with module.exports, my bad, module.exports, this is the way to tell Node that we want to export this function, that anybody could use it. So what's the other way? Well, the other way is literally just creating an object, making this module.exports equal to an object, right? And we want the object key to be add and the value to be add. And there's another way to simplify this. If these two are the same, you could literally just say add, like that, right? And we could delete this. We could delete this right here and do function add. We'll get back to this in a second, don't worry about it. Control save, and if you run it now, it'll still do 7. But like I said, we're going to be doing this, the arrow functions, instead of this function right now, right? So, and I already told you how to do this. And if you save it again, it's exactly the same thing. 7. You see that? So module exports lets us export functionalities that we want other people to use. So if we have another one right here called subtract, I'm gonna call it sub, and we're gonna do x minus y, right? And we try to use it over here without exporting it, it's gonna throw us an error, right? And we try to run it, it's gonna give us an error. It gives us a 7 that we're expecting, but it gives us an error on sub because it doesn't know what sub is. We haven't exported. We haven't told Node that this is a function that we want people to actually use. Well, we could just literally go comma and then right here, remember, sub and then sub again. But if you have two of the same thing, you could just literally just do sub. Control save. Now we run it one more time. Let me scroll this up. You get -3 because what did I put? 2 minus 5 is -3, right? Okay. So now you know how to do internal modules and external modules, and now we're going to do third-party modules. What do I mean by third-party modules? Well, this just means that we're going to be using modules that other people have created. Where do you get modules that other people created? This was kind of weird for me to say that. I don't know, the way I said it was weird. Anyways, if you open up your browser, it's called npm. Just type in npm. It's this first one, npmjs.com. This is literally where you want to get where people have built modules for Node, specifically for Node. This is the place you want to go. And we're going to be using one called yargs. We're going to be using this one, yargs. And it tells you right here, it's a module that helps us build command line tools, right? It helps us build command line tools, which we're going to be using for our notes application. So how do you install this? And right here you can actually see it's pretty popular. Weekly downloads 20 million. Last published 10 days ago. This is pretty good because it tells you that it's up to date with the current version. Now if you see right here like 2-3 years ago, that's an indicator saying that hey, it's probably not up to date with the current version of Node, so be wary. Anywho, so how do you use third-party modules? Well, we have to do something first. In our terminal, we're going to do npm init space init. And package name, we're going to leave it as notes app version 1. Description, you could just leave it blank or whatever you want to tell it. Entry point, yes, this is our main entry point that we want to use. Leave that blank. If you have a Git repository, add it here. Keywords, since we're not going to be publishing it, I don't really care about the keywords. Author, you could put your name in here. Mine is G. License, that's fine. We're not going to publish it, so ISC is good. And does this look okay? You could either type in yes, or hit enter. And you can see right here, package.json is a new file that this created for us. This basically just tells us, this is kind of a description of your app that you're using. Like I said, description, you could have put anything in here, but this is literally just like a description of things, a description of your application. And also, this is the storage place of where you're going to be installing third-party modules. It's telling Node that we're going to be getting some modules from outside of the external and internal, from ours and the internal. We're going to be getting some modules outside, and this is where we're going to be storing it at, right? But how do you install yargs? Well, it tells you, if you keep on going here, it tells you how to install, right? npm I, which means install, yargs, save. So let's do it, and I'm going to explain it in a bit. npm, you could either type in I or install. It doesn't matter which way you go, it doesn't matter. npm install, and then the name of the module you want to install, which is yargs for our case, right? Okay, now -- save. This flag means that we're going to save it into package.json. We're going to save it here. Okay, so once we hit enter, it's going to do all these things, and you're going to see this package log. Don't worry about this right now. Just look right here. Dependencies, yargs. Now that this is in here, this is basically saying that every time we use this, or we try to execute app.js, it's going to look in package.json. It's going to look in here. Node is going to look in here and say, does it have any dependencies? Yes, it does. And if you don't have these dependencies installed onto your computer, it's going to throw you an error saying that, hey, you don't have the dependencies that this application requires. So this is why we save it here. If you didn't save it, you wouldn't have had this. And if you wanted to run it again later on, it's going to throw an error saying that you need some third-party modules that you do not have installed. This helps us a lot, because later on down the road, if I decide to publish this, you would go in here and see dependencies, and you're going to see all of the third-party modules that is required to run this application, and it's easy to install. So let's say I had 10 of them in here, and you decide to download mine. Well, you're not going to go in here and be like, okay, npm install yargs, npm install whatever. No, you literally could just do npm install, just like this, right? And then hit enter, and it's going to install all the dependencies within package.json. That's for you. That's because you didn't have it, right? This makes it super useful for us, and super user for anybody else that wants to use our application. So let's get rid of that. And you can also see that we have another folder right here, node modules. And this is just a folder that has all of our dependencies installed. You might be saying, well, I didn't install all these dependencies. No, but yargs has its own dependencies that it needs, right? And these are all the dependencies that yargs need. You can see ours right here. But yargs needs all of these other dependencies inside as well to work functionally. So don't worry about that right now. So now that we have package.json, and notes.json, we're gonna actually, right here, notes, we're gonna actually close out of that. How do we, use the third-party module that we just installed? Well, it's gonna be exactly the same expression as this up here, right? This is gonna be different. So I'm gonna call it yargs, right? And right here is gonna be different. All right, so now we actually go back to this first line. We don't need to tell it where it is because Node already sees this node modules folder, and it says if it's not my internal module, it's going to be in here. And if it's not in here, then it's going to be external, meaning that it's one of our own modules and we need to tell Node where it lives. But if it's inside node modules, we could literally just say yargs in here. Since that is the package name, as you can see down here, it is the package name that we are using. So here it is, right? And this actually has to be above, right here. So let's try to use yargs as an example. And get rid of this. Okay, let's go back to our CMD command prompt, and we're gonna do something real quick. We're gonna do log. We're gonna log out process dot argv. Okay, we're gonna just log that out, and in here we're gonna do node app.js. Let me see, there it is. And we're gonna add something extra. We're gonna add, we're gonna add list. Okay, now if you hit enter, oh sorry, it's not a function, sorry, you just do argv, control S. Forgot my parentheses. Control S. Okay, as you can see right here, we have an array, our node execution, our executable file, and then our application file, our app.js file, and then this third argument that we listed, right? A list. This is going to help us with our notes, right? Because we're going to be doing read, add, right? But remember, if you read something, we got to tell it what note we want to read, and we're going to be passing in the title argument, right? And it might have a title called, I don't know, notes app, right? So we're passing in the title, and the title's name is notes app. This is a one we want to read, a note that we want to read. If we press enter, look what happens. It gets all of these arguments into an array: read, title, notes app. But imagine that this is going to be kind of hard to parse. Not really hard to parse, but it's going to be kind of it's going to be complex to actually get the command and then the title and then the title's name. And now we have like body up here. You could see how this is going to be a big array, right? And we're going to do getting note or whatever. So now we got title and then the title name, body, and then the body, right? Well, yargs gives us a way to actually simplify this. So I'm right here, I'm gonna say process, because I'm gonna show you the difference between process and yard. Process. All right, now we're gonna log out. Yargs. How do we use yargs? Well, yargs dot argv. That's literally it right there. And argv stands for argument vector, which is the arguments. And then now we go up one, because we're gonna do this again, body, this one that we've just done, and we hit enter. Okay, process. This is the lengthy one that is going to be kind of complex to parse. But look at yargs. It gives us an object, and it already does it for us. Title equals notes app. Body equals this whatever I just wrote for the body, right? So this is super cool. Now we don't have to deal with parsing this complex thing. It's not really complex because we can literally just say for title, var title, right? We could do equals process argv this, and it's going to be an array. We're going to get the first object, or actually it's going to be, for the title, it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth one. So we're going to do 4 right here. And we could just log out title. Control save. Now if we do that again one more time, you can see right here, title, the title, notes app. But we have to do this for every single one of them, right? This is going to be the 6th one. Yeah, 6th one. 6th. The 6th one. I don't even know. Right, but there's easier way to doing it. Now we could use the args, argv. Copy this, replace this, and since it's an object, we just need to do dot title. No, not comma, dot. Now we run this again, it should give us notes app still. So this, I'm telling you, Yargs makes it super easy, and plus companies actually use Yargs a lot, so just to let you know, this is super easy to use. Alright guys, now that we know how to use require, in the next video we're going to be grabbing users inputs. Alright, so stick around. We're going to be, from this point on, it's going to be strictly learning how to actually grab, well, it's going to be strictly building the notes application. Right now I taught you how to use require, requiring internal, external, and third-party modules. And now we're going to be, from here on out, we're going to be building the note application. So stick around, wait until the next video, and if you have any comments on like I could better my videos, or if I'm going too fast, if you want me to slow down or anything, just leave a comment down below, man. I greatly appreciate the feedback, even if it's negative. As developers, we need to embrace the comments that you give back, because it's going to make us better at what we do. So please leave comments, and if you want, subscribe. Even though this is my first video, but I would appreciate it if you subscribed. So thank you, and just, wait until the next video, because next video we're gonna actually get user inputs. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.